welcome to the very first episode of The Reroll, our podcast here at House of Homebrew. We bring on a guest, maybe from the cast, maybe from the general public, maybe somebody else, and we talk about D&D, life, and everything in between. Today, we have a wonderful guest, Josh Malloy! How's it going, buddy?
It's going very well. Thank you for having me. Thanks for being here, man.
Hey, thanks for coming to my house.
Nobody talks about this, but I really appreciate it when a host shows up to their own podcast.
I've heard that some people don't. Mainly Theo Vaughn.
They just ghost their own podcast?
Yeah, he just doesn't show up.
I kind of like that. It's such a power move.
It's because he's off in the wilderness just doing Theo Vaughn shit.
He's making beef jerky, not out of cows, though. You know what I'm saying?
Anyway, you'd know Josh Malloy from TA Josh on our Instagram page. Phenomenal content there. We got a bunch more coming to you guys. From Acetaminophen, Season 1 of House of Homebrew, and you will know him as Tik Tok from Season 2. We got a lot more coming down the pipe. However, today, we are here to talk about one thing. Your ability to play the saxophone. Now, I did not know this about you. We talked about this before we started.
Yes.
Since when can you play the saxophone? Because you played it in a commercial for the lottery, and I thought it was fake.
You thought it was like ADR?
And you got mad at me.
They mimed me playing the saxophone,
and then
they brought in like Kenny G to like play.
I think he plays the clarinet.
Does he really? No, he plays like the soprano sax, which is basically the same thing.
Got you. That's why I thought it.
It's like...
You got the hair for it.
Diet saxophone.
Diet saxophone?
Yeah, like Kirkland's signature saxophone is what they...
Diet Royal Cola. Thank you. Sponsored by us.
I don't mean to offend any of our clarinet playing fans out there, but you want to play like a real instrument, pick up a saxophone.
Yeah?
There's a reason why it's gold. It's because it's number one. In our hearts, you know, and on my Spotify Wrapped.
Such a strong stance to take
I get to the end of the
color
year
of brass instruments.
None of
and
which
they aren't all made of solid gold.
Yeah.
That's a true statement.
Yeah, but
I've actually heard that before.
My thing, mine is, by the way, I play.
It's solid gold.
Yeah. Well, what was the original? When did I start playing sax? I started playing in like third grade. I went to Eckroth. Shout out to Eckroth Music in Billings, Montana, which is my hometown. Basically, the way I chose the instrument that I was going to play in third grade, which I think, at least for Montana, that's the first year that you can play, the first grade that you can play an instrument.
I made my music teacher cry in third grade because I was a little stinker, but keep going.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so the way I decided what instrument I was going to play is I was going to go to Eckroth Music, shout out to Eckroth Music in Billings, Montana, my hometown, is I was going to show up and pick out an instrument, and then whatever I could make a sound out of the instrument, that's the instrument I was going to play. Mm. And surprisingly, I couldn't even get a sound out of the drums, which is ironic because I play drums now. But How do you not get sound out of drums? That's how bad I was at the time.
Dude, how do you that's missing the drum?
Yeah, but that requires like hand-eye coordination, of which I had zero at the time.
Just Josh going like this.
Also, I wore glasses. At the time, I wore glasses. I still do. I had asthma. I still do. And I wore like button-up t-shirts. So I knew, I had the self-awareness that
Which you don't anymore because you have a tied-up crop top now.
Well, yeah, I'm rocking the Britney Spears
You're
cup.
so cute.
Yeah, I'm slutting out for their first podcast episode.
Dude, we need
Trying to get more viewers. / listeners.
Yep.
They can hear
how much of a whore you are. Yeah. And that's what I always tell people about Josh, is how, like, you don't even have to see him. As soon as you smell him coming in the room, you're like, slut.
You can hear my sluttiness before you see it.
100%.
But anyway, so I was at Eckroth Music. Shout out to Eckroth Music back in my hometown of Billings, Montana. And so I just knew, I skipped the drums entirely, I think, because I knew that I wasn't cool enough to play drums. So I tried the clarinet, I tried the trumpet, and then I tried the two instruments I could get sounds out of, which is, again, was the criteria for which I was going to pick my instrument that I was going to play. Was could I get a sound out of it? I could get sounds out of the French horn and the saxophone.
But you hate the French.
I was just going to say that. Everybody knows I'm very noisily slutty, and that I also hate the French. Yes.
Those are your two most defining characteristics.
I tell that to people upon introducing myself. I go, hi, my name is Joshua Malloy. I hate the French. Yep. And so when I made a sound on the French horn, I was like, well, that's a complete waste of time. I'm not going to pick the French horn for obvious reasons. And then so I made a sound with the saxophone, and now I play saxophone. Well, so I don't still play saxophone. I play it every once in a while, kind of intermittently, but yeah. So I auditioned for this this commercial, and I played the saxophone in it.
See, I thought it was a what's the name of the movie? The Motherless Brooklyn. Have you ever seen that?
Again, no.
I don't know why I thought I should just restart the conversation from zero that we already had before we started rolling.
This is a D&D podcast, so I feel like you should tie something D&D related in it, but I feel like you have a better chance of rolling 2 nat 20s than finding somebody who's seen Motherless Brooklyn.
But it was so good.
No offense, Ed Norton.
Ed Norton.
Love your work.
Ed Norton, Bruce Willis. They kill Bruce Willis immediately.
That's awesome.
Immediately.
I love when a movie or a TV show kills a famous actor right out of the gate.
And it's not just anyone. It's Bruce
you.
Willis.
Yeah.
It's like literally in the first 10 minutes of the movie. You introduce him, Bruce Willis is his mentor, and then Bruce Willis gets murked by the mob.
That's awesome.
Right off the bat.
I don't even need to see the movie anymore. Nor was I ever going to plan on watching
but then there's
that.
Louis Armstrong in it, and it was a great performance by Michael Kenneth Williams. Thank you.
Let's take it back so it sounds organic. Like you knew his name.
I knew his name the whole time.
Yeah.
And I definitely didn't forget it since we looked it up earlier before we started rolling.
Well, we didn't look it up.
Michael Kenneth Williams did a phenomenal job being Louis Armstrong. And I was telling this story. I'll tell it for the people. Of that, like, he was playing Louis Armstrong but doesn't know how to play the trumpet. And so as he was ripping on the trumpet, the very first take, he was like just blowing in it and pushing buttons. And it sounded like 9 cats losing their lives at the same time. Yeah. And everybody laughed on set, and Edward Norton had said, no, that's exactly what we need, everybody. We're not using this audio. We are just going to overlay Louis Armstrong songs over it. But we need his neck veins popping. We need him sweating. We need him doing that. And that's what I thought you did the entire time for that lottery commercial. So anytime I saw it on air,
that was raw.
I thought it was hilarious because I was like, he doesn't fucking know.
They are going to do that for this podcast, though. They're going to have me look like I'm saying stuff, but then have somebody who's actually intelligent come in and say
Haley
stuff.
to overdub all of your audio?
No, because nobody can believe that I have that voice coming out of my face.
So, Mason.
They could... Yeah, but Mason has a mustache. You can tell when somebody with a mustache is speaking.
That's true. That is true. My voice changes when I shave this thing.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, you sound like a little bitch. It's so annoying.
Dude, will a little bitch kiss your mom on the mouth the way that I do? I didn't think so. That's what I thought, dude.
Man, I don't speak to my mom very much anymore.
You don't speak to your mom?
Maybe it's because I'm so bad at pronouncing things. She just hates.
She's like, I can't listen to you even try. Anyway, this is a D&D podcast. It is, somehow. Maybe. So I actually have a question for you.
Okay.
Tell me if this has ever been you. I'm a DM. I don't know what I'm doing because I just got off work and I don't know what encounter to run tonight. Good news! House of Homebrew is doing monthly maps with encounters over on our Patreon. So go ahead and sign up for that. In addition to all the other content that you're getting, I'm giving you a free encounter to go along with it. With a map, with everything designed out for you, and the stat blocks attached to it. Go check that out.
So, in your first season as a CETA, you'd played D&D before, yeah?
I played, well, we had kind of our little practice session that we played a few weeks prior to shooting.
Was it the very first time?
No, but it's the first time. I consider it the first time because actually the very, very first time I played was in my hometown of Billings, Montana. Shout out to my hometown of Billings, Montana.
Just keep shouting stuff out.
I was playing with my, I hope they watch this episode so I can just call them on their shit. My buddy Bob and my buddy Corey, and there's a few other people there.
How old were you?
I was like, I think I was like 18,
and you
19.
had a buddy Bob.
A buddy named Bob.
How old was he?
He was like 14 at the time.
Bob?
Nobody knows how old Bob is because
that's
he's literally,
Robbie, dude.
To this day, he looks like he could be 13 years old.
Interesting. And he's still Bob.
He has a kid.
Mom's baby, dad's maybe.
And so the reason why I don't consider it my first time that we played was we sat in the tavern. Every D&D, like very stereotypically, every session begins in a tavern. Our session never left the tavern. And as somebody who loves dungeons and loves dragons somehow even more than dungeons, because dungeons are amazing, I was very in love with the idea of playing Dungeons and Dragons. Now, we never left the tavern because we were so busy trying to seduce women to our chambers. And as somebody who's already really, really good at that in real life, I had no issue. Like, this interested me very, very little. I was about the dungeons and I was about the dragons. And so the weird, here's the interesting part about this.
The picture of you at 18.
Yeah.
With a 13-year-old named Bob.
No, he was older than I was.
Okay.
I was 18, he was 13, but he was older than I was. We were just rolling dice to see if we would seduce these women. Now, I was like, where are the dungeons? Where are the dragons? The most interesting tidbit about this situation was that in terms of social strata, Corey and Bob were way higher than I was. Like, remember, I played the saxophone, I wore glasses, I had asthma, and I really loved Harry Potter. So I was your archetypal nerd back then, and I was somehow in this cool group of dudes that like smoked cigarettes and like flicked them at cops in middle school and in high school.
The coolest guys.
And I just found myself surrounded by a bunch of fucking dorks that were just trying to fuck fictional women in their collective imaginations. Yeah. So you at home understand, you across the table understand, I do not consider that my first... No, dude. I got no good comeback for that. That sucks.
Anyway.
My first session that I consider my first session is our like practice round before venturing off into Asita and being like really taking on that character.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Season 1's great.
Season 1 is great. I mean, I was honestly so impressed with how, because a lot of our players didn't really know how to play D&D. They knew how to act and they knew how to make films.
Yeah.
But it was the D&D part, which is why I enjoyed it so much as a DM. And that's why season 1 is set up the way that it is, as almost like you're all kids, you all don't really know what you're doing. You're talented and gifted, but this is a new world for you, and that's why I built season 1 to be what it was with the Dragon Hearts.
I think we all appreciated that too.
I'm glad you did. And it worked out so well because it seemed like everybody's story beats hit where they needed to, with the growth of you also as players. Like Asita figuring out how to be a cleric. Initially, spoilers for season 1, go watch it if you haven't. Initially being afraid to even act, and then needing to because his friends needed him to, was both Asita and Josh. I can't tap on the table, we just found out.
For sure.
Yep.
For sure.
And then, I mean, Nemea, again, same thing. CJ had the least acting experience, the least experience with the game itself. Yeah. And my producer's yelling at me.
Go back from Nemea.
And Nemea also being she was the newest player. She had played the least. Mm-hmm. She had the least acting experience. And so her starting out as the person that wants to stay in the background and really being pulled to the forefront by the end of the season was such a phenomenal character arc. I mean, really everybody. Dom, too, with Juniper. He knows how to play D&D. He knows how to interact with the world. Well, I mean, to a degree. He DMs, but like... and Dom definitely isn't 2 feet off camera right now. But like Juniper being the guy that's like, I'm going to initiate every interaction. I'm going to talk. I'm going to go. I'm going to do stuff. Was very Dom-esque. Yeah. And then even the point that Dom wouldn't shut the fuck up was also...
You're being so good right now. We'll get you a treat later.
He's not fighting back at all. I just have free reign. This is amazing. No, Dom's amazing. I love him. And he knows that I love him. I'll give you kisses later. But truly, everybody was like, it fit not just their personality, but also what they knew about the game itself. And that's why I love season 1 so much. It really, you can see players become players. Mm-hmm. You can see characters become characters.
Yeah. I think often about, and I would love to see people's comments about this from people who are listening, because I'm sure this isn't like a really exclusive situation, but I would come home from our sessions every night with this like just feeling emotionally taxed, because you step into these characters, you step into these worlds, and it feels so real. And I think that was the first thing I noticed in episode 1, knowing that we had several episodes ahead of us, and just feeling like I actually experienced these situations. And I called, at the end of the campaign, I called my parents, and there's really no good way to explain to your parents, who are kind of on the more conservative end of things, not politically, but just in terms of lifestyle, that I had to explain to them, I'm taking a week off of work to play a game where I play pretend in my brain with a group of my 6 friends.
Yeah.
And they've always been incredibly supportive. They're still living in Billings, Montana. Shout out to my hometown of Billings, Montana. But they're still, and they're...
4?
That's number 4.
4. Okay.
6. We'll get to 6, then we'll call it quits.
Yeah, cool.
I think the joke will run out of that.
Keep going.
But
I want to see how high we get. Keep going.
I'll keep going. So they're, they've been very supportive of, my career aspects as an actor throughout my life. But it's probably, I would imagine, very difficult to hear your kids say that they're taking a week off of work to play an imaginary game where you fight imaginary goblins and dragons, right? But
not get paid because it was season 1.
Well, and that was their first question, and I had to be like, well, eventually, it's one of those things where the check comes later.
Yep.
And by later, I knew that I meant like 6 years down the line.
That's 6. We'll pay you soon.
We're at 2 years.
We'll pay you soon. Is that 6?
Depends on how well I perform in season 3, is what they're saying.
Exactly right.
Yeah, I think it's one of the most profound, not only acting experiences I've ever experienced, but as somebody who, like you kind of said, like I take on characteristics of Asita and I learn from him by being him. Everybody naturally has this beautiful character arc that seems like it's orchestrated from the beginning, but it's not, because you're rolling dice, which are entirely based upon chaos and chance. So they say. Yeah. Your entire character arc comes full circle, even though it's happenstance. But it's not. It feels like it's so, like somebody planned it from the beginning, and it happens so naturally. And my character personally is very timid at the beginning. He's unsure of himself. He doesn't exactly know what he stands for. And at the end, he's a little more steadfast in his beliefs. And Mason's character, Sonny, at the beginning, something that's so beautiful about our campaign is that Sonny's a changeling. Yep. And when he's in Sonny's
Spoilers!
A changeling. But in season 1, Sonny, in all of his changeling forms, where he's allegedly, supposedly more powerful and able to do more damage, he rolls
as a druid.
As a druid.
Yeah.
Well, when he's like in his like elk form or whatever, he's supposed to be able to do more damage. But when he's in those forms, he rolls like dog shit. Yeah. The entire season. I'm not emphasizing at all. He rolls like dog shit.
If you haven't seen it, it's unbelievable how bad he rolls. I had to reorchestrate a mechanic that I had for him. I'm not kidding. I reorchestrated
House of Homebrew for
one of the mechanics for the Dragon Souls to make him have another shot at. I basically gave him the lucky feat. Yeah. But it was only on saving throws. I was like, just don't get paralyzed, bro. Like, that's all I want for you. And he was still like, I rolled a 4. It was unbelievable.
At really dire moments.
A statistical anomaly.
Yeah. But then, part and parcel to the whole, like, being true to yourself stereotype, at the end of the series, when he's in his most, like, vulnerable, non-changeling state, he's rolling like a dynamo. Yeah. And you just can't, you can't write this stuff any better than how it actually plays out. based on how the die roll for you. I don't know. That's my whole soapbox.
Here's the
about
thing. I'm not a religious man. I'm not a spiritual person. I'm very like very.
Still saving yourself for marriage though. That's so interesting.
Still saving myself for marriage, except with my girlfriend, and you. But my point is, the only spirituality that I can't deny is the dice gods. The dice gods. I swear they have to be real. Because the way that with season 1, we'll talk about Sonny still, Mason's character. Season 1, Sonny, I had written on the back of his character sheet that he gave me during session 0. His character arc is understanding that he needs to accept himself for himself in order to return to his herd and be what they need him to be. Something along those lines. That was his character arc. That's beautiful. And the dice, which I have zero control over, absolutely hit that arc. Yep. Like it looked like I was just like hitting a button, like Ocean's 11, and making the dice flip bad and then flip good.
That's Ocean's 13, but you're right, absolutely right. That's when they knock over a casino, not the banks. No.
They knocked over a casino the first time.
A single casino, not the Bellagio.
And then the third one was when they knocked over a bunch of casinos at the same time.
No, you got that backwards.
I don't think I do.
Ocean's 13 is with Al Pacino is the bad guy. Ocean's 11.
Right, because they're opening the new casino and they want to take him down, so they have to hit a bunch of different spots at the same time.
Terry Benedict.
What?
Terry Benedict is the name of the guy.
That helped.
Yeah.
They have to not, because they have to hit him harder, because they're not just trying to make money, they're trying to hurt him. So Ocean's 13 is where they have to hit a bunch of casinos.
No, sir.
Shit.
You're absolutely wrong.
Am I?
Yeah.
What
You're
happened?
hosting this?
What happened? Wait, what happened in Ocean's 13?
I feel like as the host of a D&D show, you should know forward and backward, upside down.
Every single Ocean's movie.
Your Ocean's 11 lore should be beyond repute, bro. What am I doing here? I'm about to take my mic off and leave.
Not getting paid, that's
I'm
for
so
sure.
fired up, dude. As next to Lord of the Rings, the Ocean's trilogy is probably my favorite trilogy of movies.
That's fair.
So,
you know what my
Before
favorite
Sunset is a close third.
Divergent.
What are we doing here? This is so embarrassing for both parties.
And it is a trilogy because part 2 of
There's
Divergent...
4 movies.
No, because part 2 of Divergent never got made.
Part 2?
Part 2
Well,
of the
for
third
good reason.
movie.
They suck ass.
Allegiant?
Part 2 of Allegiant.
Part 2
I'm more
of
of a
Allegiant.
Delta guy myself.
Well, the Divergent series, and then they were going to turn it to a TV show because the movie did so bad.
Dude, poll in the chat. Let's do poll in the chat. Allegiant versus Delta Airlines. That's what we're talking about right now, right? We're a D&D show at one point. For like 10 minutes there, we were a D&D show. And then Jamie insisted we drink scotch the whole time. What are we drinking today, by the way?
We're actually drinking, what was it?
Are we allowed to say?
It's the classic Laddie. It's a phenomenal Isla Scotch, especially if you're not really familiar with Islas or you're not a huge fan of that smoky, peaty, like almost barbecue.
I am not, personally.
But that one, it's so light.
I like this.
And it's still an Isla Scotch. It's still made in the same way. I honestly need to do more research about them as a distillery because they're phenomenal.
Okay.
And next time I go to Scotland, I will be hitting that distillery.
I think
oh my god, it's
episode 2,
incredible.
maybe we'll have a little PowerPoint ready for you to give us a little PowerPoint on the
if we
Isla
could get
Scotch.
somebody to just put like a presentation together for me, so I've got some notes over here.
You know what's way better than a podcast? You know why podcasts suck? Than a PowerPoint is the you know what I'm talking about?
No,
maybe we'll cut this part, but
I don't.
I'm gonna keep doing this motion with
insist
my
that
hands until we figure out what I'm talking about. It's when you zoom in from one slide and you go like this to the next one.
So that's just a transition in a PowerPoint, right? Because that's a transition in PowerPoint from Microsoft.
What are they called? Somebody in the comments section, tell me what this is. Wait, okay, so if you're doing a presentation about, I don't know, bugs, let's just say, first thing that came to mind. You have mantises, and then you have stick bugs over here. It goes, and over to stick bugs. From mantises to stick bugs. Somebody in the comment section, tell me what that is.
That's just a transition.
It's
in
not.
PowerPoint.
I promise. It's something. It's something else.
Okay, Dom's nodding.
He knows what it is. What is it called?
It's a transition.
No,
It's
it's
a
not.
transition in PowerPoint.
I'm gonna flip this table, dog.
Do it, dude. And on that note, I think we've hit our time limit, brother.
Is that it?
I think so. As for today, but we will do more. We will drink more. And everybody out there, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate you. Josh, thank you for being here, brother.
Absolutely,
I love you
anytime.
so much.
Adventure responsibly. We love
Thank
you
you, guys.
I would listen to that.